All right, guys, how's it going? Now, before we get into this video, two streams, should I say. I'll be hosting a live stream on here this afternoon at 12:30 p.m. UK time, a little bit earlier than usual. It'll only be for an hour because I've got things to do this afternoon, hence why it's a little bit earlier. So 12:30 p.m. UK time today, and then another one at 7 p.m. UK time this evening. All right, so if you can't make one, you can come to the other. You just do both, or do none at fucking all if you want. It doesn't make any difference to me. How are you doing? You all right? As you know, I chill on a Monday, so I don't usually pop up too much on a Monday. So Tuesday's kind of like the first day back for me after the weekend. I've been to the cafe this morning. I've reviewed the Spanish football dailies. Nothing in them to do with Liverpool Football Club. Other than loosely Nico Williams, is dominating the newspapers with his proposed move to Barcelona, which obviously affects Luis Diaz's situation, in terms of not getting his dream move to Barcelona, which leaves him at Liverpool, I think. I know he's been linked with other clubs, but I don't think he's looking to get out. I think for him it was Barcelona or Liverpool, but it depends on what Liverpool want to do now. I think, and you'll know this if you follow my channel for a long time, that this summer the club, was hoping to get the money from Darwin Núñez and Luis Diaz. Yeah, Luis Diaz in terms of he's going to go to Barca, right? So I don't think it was a case of we want to sell Luis Diaz to anyone. I just think that's what the club thought was going to happen, but obviously that's changed somewhat in the last week or so. And that money, that revenue, I think was always going to be to fund a significant purchase and could affect maybe our interest in Alexander Isak, right? Now, a few days ago, the local media in the Northeast, Newcastle United media, if you like, one of the journalists there basically said the same thing and said, Alexander Isak to Liverpool is not imminent, there's no bid, there's no negotiations, no discussions, which I believe. And he's not going there, basically. But then he left the door open by saying, but if Liverpool sell Núñez and Diaz, they might come in, all right? So we had that bit. Now, the reason I'm recording this video is, opinions can change all the time, right? And I get a lot of people come to my live streams and they'll say, what do you think about the Alexander Isak chatter dunk, etc., etc. So I know some of you haven't got, time to watch live streams and whatnot. So I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible. This is just to say to you what I think, right? And, maybe tomorrow or later in the week, I'll record a video that contradicts what I'm saying today because grown-ups know that things change in football, right? So the way I see things at the moment with Liverpool's transfer activity, and I'm going to talk about this probably in another video as well, is that, I thought that we'd do something early on. I thought it would then go quiet, and then we might push for something at the end of the window or towards the end of the window. And I think that is when we would possibly make a move for Isak. Possibly. I'm not a Twitter twat, an ITK, I don't know, right? I'm just giving my opinions. And let me think, where's the thing? David Ornstein, I was going to make a video about this separately, but he's basically said the same thing, that nothing to do with Isak, but he's basically said that Liverpool will now, having done some transfer business, observe market developments. There you go, see what happens and maybe come back later in the window. There was a really, really good comment left on one of my videos, which was by Peter L4059. And it was left the other day, and it said as follows, and this is regarding Isak. Makes all kinds of sense for Isak to agitate for a move. Newcastle getting CL is likely not nearly as important for him as the Ornsteins of the world would make it out to be. Eddie Howe is not likely to win the CL nor the PL, while Isak is still in his prime. And if you are an Isak as opposed to an Mbeumo, basically described as the best striker in the league, that is your next step up. In the PL, the only teams that have a consistent record of going to CL finals and winning them are City and Liverpool. And City have Haaland. So there is literally nowhere else for Isak to go, nor any other time to do so if he waits until next year when he will be 27. LFC are very likely to have moved on. And I read that and I thought, yeah, it's a really good way to look at it, to be honest with you. I posted on the members website this morning. You don't need to be a member. Let me read it to you. If I can get on my own website. Not logged in. There's a surprise. Don't know my password. Hang on. Here we go, guys. Executive Lounge, Scouting Department, Alexander Isak latest. I'm going to read you what I said to the troops on there. This is what I posted on there when I was in the cafe this morning. I'm convinced that we do want this lad. Everyone of any importance at various levels at the club insists we are willing to make an offer, but that only the player can make anything happen. And then in brackets, I put forcefully. And the general vibe is that he's very respectful and doesn't want to sour his relationship. I am convinced that Liverpool would make a move for him if there was a possibility in doing so. Convinced. Bearing in mind, if you'd have asked me that weeks and weeks ago, I'd have said, nah, I don't believe any of the shit that's out there. But the vibe and the mentality and the feedback and the chatter and the commentary that's coming from people that you should listen to is completely different. So I think the club somehow, this is where we got to watch what the likes of Joyce and Ornstein say, is look out to see how many times Isak is mentioned with Liverpool, but not by the Twitter twats or the content creators. Do you know what I mean? By journalists that we know that the club can throw a bit to get out there. So they don't have to be one of the two best journalists regarding Liverpool, which is obviously Joyce and Ornstein. Fabrizio Romano, no relationship with the club, right? But he's still interesting to see what he says because he's connected to the agents. So if he starts chirping Romano about Isak to Liverpool, then I would say, in my opinion, that's Isak's agent saying something to him. But, you know, the journalists, what I call in the clique of journalists, the ones that all agree with each other, they all copy each other, they ain't got a fucking clue in all reality. They know everything when a deal's been completed, like how this deal happened, but they don't tell you how it's going to happen, right? So that clique, they still get bits thrown at them. And I think if the message is amplified that Liverpool would be interested in him, that goes back and that gets in the player's head, right? And if you're that player, what do you think? You could be thinking the same as what was in that comment, aren't you? Now's my chance. They want me. I could be playing, you know, alongside Wirtz and the like. You know, so I don't want to be disrespectful to Newcastle and, you know, Newcastle fans because they must be sick of hearing about it. I understand it completely, but come on, this is football and we've all got opinions and this is big business. And you know, talk of a £200 million valuation. All right, I'll sell you my house. I want £1 million for my house. Don't mean I'm going to get a fucking million, does it? You know, maybe it puts people off, but when hard cash is put in front of you, things can change. So my view is, the message I'm trying to convey in this video is that I believe our interest to be in Isak to be very, very genuine. I really do. And I know that some of you will say about injuries and stuff like that. But the club, I think they know a little bit more about us, you know, and know about those things and statistics and how we handle players and the pressure that would be on, you know, on a player. If you think about it, this was made a really good point in the past when we were sniffing out that really injury-prone player that was he at Wolves and he went to Chelsea, so I can't remember, you know what my memory's like. And it was, when you're the star player at a club that doesn't have a lot of stars, the pressure is on to get them back in the team as quickly as possible, right? Because without them, they're fucked kind of thing. So you know, they need the best players back, right? And with Liverpool, we have a lot of star players. So the pressure is not on so much, you know, like at a club like Wolves, to have that main man back. And rushing a player back from injury can see them injured again pretty soon. So there's a lot of things that the club will look into that I think that we're just very quick to form an opinion. Do you know what I mean? So I really do think it is one to watch. You know, the content creators, the Twitter twats, they're going to be peddling it all the time because the more they talk about it, the more clicks, the more engagement. Do you know what I mean? So it's about who's talking about it, I think. And I personally am going to be watching it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool did go in with some kind of bid later in the summer. The only thing that, you know, that makes me wonder, because there's so many different things. Now think about it. What's the message been? The message has been Liverpool have a strong interest, but it will be so difficult to make happen because of the reasons already given. You know, like how much money they would want. Will the player actually force it? And then from our side, the Luis Diaz situation. You know, I mentioned on here that could affect our transfer activity in the summer, and people, like, not many people, but some people jumped on me saying, "What are you talking about, Chubbs? We've sold X, we're going to sell Y, we're going to..." Right, okay, yeah, right, that's right, perfect. But selling Diaz would have given you another 50 million maybe, or 60 million, right? And that could really help in terms of making a move for Isak. So, you've got to keep an eye on the Diaz situation. And if he doesn't go, maybe that does affect things like that. I don't know. I'm just speculating with you. And collectively, I think we come up with good discussion. Maybe you think there's no chance in a million years. Well, I think there is. And I'm going to be watching it. Now, the other kid, what's he called? I can't spell his name and I can't pronounce his name. Oh, I'm fucking useless sometimes. Useless. Hugo Ekitike. Is that right? Hugo Ekitike. You know, if it's not Jack Daniels or John Smith, I can't pronounce fucking names. I don't listen, I don't put telly on radio on, I just read things. Right. I think he is the other option. That's my personal opinions at the time of recording this video. Previous in the year, we know that they went and sniffed around Benjamin Sesko, right? But that's gone quiet. I do think this lad, and oh no, what's he called? The German one. Keep an eye out on the Germany under 21. What's he called? I'm sure he's called Nick. Oh, I don't know. Miserable Martin will be watching my video. He knows everything, that fucker. Nick Woltemade or Nick, the under 21 Germany striker, the German Peter Crouch, only height wise, in terms of height. We know that Liverpool officials were out there in Bratislava for someone or something to do with the Germany under 21s. But the specific words or wording was it wasn't a scouting run, right? So what was that all about? Him, right? And it says he's staying put. Stuttgart CEO Alexander has confirmed that Germany striker Nick Woltemade will remain at the club for next season. Let's go to his quotes. We're going into the new season with Nick. That's the end of it. However, he then said every club, apart from Bayern Munich, is prepared to discuss a transfer once a certain figure is reached. That also applies to us. We're in a constant dialogue with Nick as well. In other words, he's going nowhere. But how much are you offering? Keep an eye on him, guys. Keep an eye on him. I just think that's a little one, just a little bit interesting, I think, that one, to be honest with you. So they're the three I'm keeping an eye on. All three. Him, I think that'd be easy to make happen. He's going to be a bit more expensive. And some of those strikers like him and Sesko, and they're just a bit more expensive. You're going to spend that kind of money. You might as well go all in on the other fucker, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Isak. Well, I hope I've got my message across. My message to you, if you're sat there, what are you on about? My message to you is that I'm convinced that Liverpool are interested in Isak. And we're going to have to watch now to see who says what. And trust me, I'm fucking watching. Right? So you'll know about it when there's something of interest, I think. But will the player step up? Will he be like, yeah, I want to go there. I actually do want to go there. Romano could be an interesting one because he's connected to the agent. So keep an eye on that fucker and all. All right, I'm off. Live streams on here. 1:30 UK today. Yes. And is that right? No, 12:30 UK, 12:30 UK. I do apologise. And 7 UK, 12:30 UK and 7 UK. If you found the video slightly interesting, please thumbs up the video. Newcastle fans, I know you want to thumbs it down, that's fine. Comments are important. And if you want to support my channel, there's a love heart under the video, which is called the Super Thanks button, which is what funds my beer kitty on the weekend, to be honest with you. And I had a few beers at the weekend. I had a good weekend. I hope you did too. All right, guys, I'll see you in a bit. All right, I've got some more stuff coming up for you. I think my videos might sound a bit similar today because I want to mention what Ornstein says next. And I've already mentioned it in this video, but we'll get there. All right, guys, take it easy.